With Congress members drafting their sole legislative product for the upcoming midterm elections, we thought we'd check in on the political operation that is gearing up for 2026. How will the choices being made right now in this big, beautiful bill shape the electoral landscape to come? Joining us now, Executive Director of Keep Congress Red, Jason Gilbert. So I guess it's never too early to be thinking about the midterms. What should voters be expecting regarding the balance of power and how each party's doing?
That is correct. It is never too early. And something I have to emphasize to your audience, this is a 911 Paul Revere moment, because if the Republicans don't win the 2026 midterms and they lose the majority, everything changes. So President Trump's momentum, all this kicking ass and taking names that he's been doing, will probably come to a grinding halt, because he will go from offense to defense. He'll be impeached again and again and again, endlessly, until his 2-year term is up. And there'll be investigations and committees that will make January 6th look like a Christmas parade.
Well, and frankly, I think a lot of people would just leave the administration. If you've spent 2 years playing offense, who wants to have Jamie Raskin rooting around in your life because you happen to be the deputy counselor at the Treasury office or something like that? Where do you think people should be looking for the key regions or key areas that will define the majority?
Great question. And by the way, it is a real honor to be on the greatest show with the greatest hosts, and that's a great question, and here's a great answer. Go to keepcongressred.org. Right there are the target districts. There's 435 seats in Congress. Only about 50 are actually winnable. We have a really strong, robust data science team that determines what can be won realistically, but it's really going to come down to about 10 districts that are toss-ups, and some of those were only won by 200 votes in the last election. That is where Congress will be decided. And what's important for your viewers to understand is if they voted for President Trump, but they don't vote in congressional elections, which is a big problem, it's a huge issue, then it's like voting for impeachment for President Trump. Get your butt out and vote if you live in one of those districts on keepcongressred.org.
What if you don't?
Because you have to vote.
We've got a lot of viewers who might live in a district that is safely red, but is there something they can do to make sure that in these frontline competitive seats we've got the best possible candidates with the best chance to win?
They can. When they go to the website and they see those districts that are going to decide the 2026 midterms, they can volunteer, they can donate to those candidates. They can donate to Keep Congress Red. And if they do, when they donate to us, it's anonymous, because we don't have to report to the FEC their name, and they can use a company to give money, not an individual, because we're a 501c4.
So I am observing these machinations on Capitol Hill right now, and I assess that this is the last train leaving the station. This is the one big legislative product. And I wonder, what do you think are the things in this bill, or that we're hoping it will be in this bill, that will give Republican candidates and Republican members the best chance to go and make a case to the voters?
Anything that's going to help the bottom line, like short term, to put money in their pocket and help the economy. So whether it can be indirect, like energy prices come down, gas prices go down because we're drill baby drill, and making headway on that front, or it's wages go up because we're not competing with migrants now who are dragging wages down. Whatever impacts that kitchen table issue of it's the economy, stupid, and puts money in the pockets of the voters, they'll come out and support their congressional candidate. Otherwise, it's going to be a protest vote, and they're going to vote against the Republicans. And then history says we will lose the midterms. We have to buck that trend, and we have to win the midterms. And we know how to do it. So go to keepcongressred.org, help us out, and we will help those candidates. And we're recruiting, by the way. If you live in one of those districts and you want to run for Congress, you could sign up there, and we'll take a really strong look at you and see if you have what it takes. And we use the recruiting methods that the NCAA championship teams use and the special ops, like I did in the military, to get the best of the best.
Well, you have to, because I think a lot of people just look at these districts and it's just a math problem to them. They're wearing green eye shades in a windowless cubicle somewhere in Washington, and they say, oh, well, this we win, this we don't. Look, at the end of the day, it's the names of the candidates that are on the ballot for people to select, and you have to have strong candidates. What are the screening mechanisms you use to make sure you've got somebody who can be successful on the front line?
Great question. Number one is money. It's a sad fact, and people complain about it, but it's a marketing. Running a campaign, as you know, it's like a startup. You have to raise money, hire people, brand market, and sell the product, which is the candidate. And that takes money to market the product. And so 98.8% of the time in a toss-up, the candidate with the most money wins. So we are looking for candidates who can self-fund 6 or even 7 figures, stroke a check. They don't have to spend all their time raising money because they're campaigning. So that's one thing we're looking at. Then there's all kinds, where do they stand on the issues? And are they a fit for that district? Will the voters in that district vote for that candidate? Because that's really what matters. That's how you win the election.
We had Jeff Van Drew on the program earlier this evening, congressman from New Jersey, and he has posited that the path to this majority runs through Republican victories in blue states. And right now, there are these big negotiations happening over the state and local tax deduction. And we've got New York and California Republicans saying, if we are not able to go home and say we're able to get more of our state and local taxes deducted off of our federal income taxes, we're going to get ransacked at the ballot box. Do you agree with that political assessment, that that's such a poignant issue for those key areas that define the majority?
Potentially it is. I mean, they have to be able to bring home the bacon, whether that's bring money to the district in the traditional sense or bring home the legislation that's going to put money into their pockets. And if that will do it, then that's going to help them. But let's assume that doesn't get done. They're going to have to come up with other ways. I told you how some of these 10 toss-ups were only 200 votes. One of those was California. I think it was California 13, was like 200 votes decided that election. Of course, now in California, you don't have election day, you have election month, and they count votes and keep counting them until they get enough for the Democrat to win. Why does it always go that way? I don't know. But until we can stop that, we have to beat the cheat.
Well, I think that the greatest antidote to that is the talent that President Trump has brought into these U.S. attorney positions in California. You got some of the smartest minds in our movement that are holding those key posts and making a big difference there. Final question. Let's look on the other side of the battle space at the Democrats. They're in this big dispute over who's in charge of their party. David Hogg is having to run in multiple elections, I guess. They are really looking at their own primaries as a battle space to go after their own members. What do you see from the strategy of the Democrats? What do you think they're doing that's effective, and what is a tailspin?
Well, before any Republican celebrates the fact that there is a Democrat civil war and they're fighting each other, do not start celebrating we're going to win the midterms, because right now all the polling is showing we would lose. Because what they vote, because the Democrat voters are very unhappy with their party. Doesn't mean they're all going to run and vote Republican. You still have to earn that vote. You have to give them a reason to vote for you. They'll just not show up otherwise. They won't vote for the Democrat, but we need them to vote for the Republican. In these toss-up districts, they're purple districts. And, you got to win the independents, and that's the key. And you got to get people to come out. If you voted for President Trump, but you're not planning to vote in the midterms, shame on you. You're voting for impeachment. You need to get off your butt and go vote for your member of Congress if you live in one of those 50 districts on our keepcongressred.org website.
And I encourage all of our viewers, even if you're not in one of these districts, we live in a world now where you can make phone calls from your home.
Exactly.
And no matter how much money you have to give, whether it's $100 or $100,000 or $50, you need to build your giving portfolio almost like an investment portfolio. Maybe somebody in your state, but maybe go find a Republican in another state that you're really excited about that could improve the institution and give them a little bit of support. And also sharing the content on social media. The more folks through your platform can see the campaigns that need a little extra boost, that need a positive comment, that all affects the algorithm, and it's the new form of fighting.
And there's one check they can do that makes all the difference. If they check recurring, so that every month they're being billed and it's donating every month, that helps. It's not just more money, but campaigns can plan. They can say, hey, we're going to get this money for the next 12 months, and we can plan what to do with it. Don't be a one-and-done donor. Put the recurring check on.
Keep Congress red. Jason Gilbert, thank you so much for coming, and thank you for your work. And we hope we can keep checking in with you as
Absolutely.
more of these fights that will define the majority come into sharp relief.
Be my honor.